Eugene Levy has been described as the shy, quiet, introverted one. The Second City member who might have been happier behind the scenes. John Candy said he goes to work like a banker. His success as a writer and director may be giving him more personal satisfaction than performing did. You know, the difference between being in a studio and being on a press junket and being in a hallway in a hotel where someone yells, literally, and you know this, you've done press junkets. The celebrity sitting in the hotel suite and you hear a voice yell, "Next!"
Well, we're hearing voices in the other room right now.
Yes, but they're your voices, your family, your people. It's much more comforting.
I'm used to it, you know.
I have to allow something. I think the term is equal time. Your friend, John Candy, has, it would seem, without mercy, given his impression of Eugene Levy's indecisiveness at the table. Now, did John exaggerate on your attempts to eat a hamburger, order a butter tart? What's the problem, Eugene?
It's sad. It's a very sad thing about me, and yet, you know, I've always been like that, and there was no exaggeration involved. For some reason, I have an obsession with food. It's one of the greater passions in my life. I love food. One of the things I always fear is, you know, not so much death itself as just, you know, being told, you know, you have to cut out salt, you have to cut out sweets, you have to cut out this, you know, more or less go on a Pritikin kind of, you know, regime.
John Candy was talking about Eugene Levy at work, the writer, in his office, and your sense of discipline. You are the writer who functions as the banker who gets up, and as Somerset Maugham may have done in his lifetime as a writer, you go into the office and you sit down and you write. That's what you do. You directed Marty's special. Are you doing more writing and more directing because you are withdrawing from being a performing artist? Is that the least attractive part of it for you?
Yes, it is.
Why, Eugene? You're a talented performer. Why are you withdrawing from performing?
I always thought my talents for performing had a ceiling to it. I always thought that there was nothing that the last few projects that I had done, for some reason, did not showcase me as well as I had hoped. And after Armed and Dangerous, I kind of took a long time to sit back and try and look into myself and say, well, you know, why? And there was nothing wrong with my performance in it, but it did not have the spark, I thought, that would, you know, immediately bring me other, you know, other roles. I thought I played good support to John. I'm always a good straight man to John. I just love working with John. But the other thing, too, is that unlike performers like John, more so somebody like Marty Short or Andrew Martin, who were people that were born to perform, you know? People that can walk into a room and take it over, you know? They command the focus, they command the attention.
Some people, Eugene, call it always being on.
Well, they're always on, but however you describe it, they're kind of natural performers. I have always had a problem, you know, being in a room full of people. I'm not, you know, I'm relatively shy. I'm, you know, slightly, you know, introverted, you know, in a sense. But I found, since I started writing and getting into directing now, that for some reason I'm much more relaxed. I find it much more comfortable on the other side of the camera, and I find the work a much more interesting process. I find it more challenging. And again, I haven't been formally trained, but been picking up the last few projects that I've directed enough experience. The first thing I did, which was for HBO, which was The Enigma of Bobby Bittman, which has never been shown in Canada. I don't know why. Actually, I'll have to talk to HBO about that. But it was, I directed it not because I said, well, this is my foray into directing, but because it was just to save money. You know, the budget was so tight, I figured, well, I could probably do this and save the director's fee and put it into the project so it shows on the screen. and I loved doing it, and it turned out very well, and you know, got you know, a couple of ACE nominations for writing and directing, and a couple of Monitor award nominations, which is kind of a television-based award thing, and it was really satisfying, and a lot of people in the industry saw it, and a lot of good things have been happening from, you know, that one show. And right now I'm writing a script to direct for Taylor Hackford and his company New Visions, and there's a lot of interest right now from Columbia Studios to direct a project that they want to get going. I mean, much too premature to talk about at this point, but there's a lot of momentum right now, and
Eugene,
I find it more rewarding
this
now.
This is work that emanates out of California. What is emanating out of the city of Toronto, your home, the place you choose to live?
I'm not a producer. It takes a lot to get something mounted up here. I mean, you have to go through, you know, you have to get money from over here. You have to get, you know, telefilm money from over there. You got to get some money from there. You know, I mean, at the end of every Canadian production, there is, you know, special thanks to, and there's a list of 10 money organizations that, you know, contributed so you could, you know, get your project off the ground. So the fact that I'm not a producer and I'm not really good at taking those kind of meetings, and, you know, I'm not really interested in taking those kind of meetings. I just want to do the work. It's easier to have somebody say, I like the idea, here's the money, you know, write the script, this is the contract, and, you know, and let's do it.
Eugene, John Candy told a story about being the catalyst in trying to bring the SCTV troupe together for a U.S. network special. Mm-hmm. And John tactfully created the impression that everyone had become a kind of corporate structure, that people couldn't get together and agree on the place, the time, maybe the money, maybe the content, and that it sort of fell apart.
You know, the amazing thing about the SCTV group is that it's true, since we started working together, there is a bond that we all have. We're still very, very tight, very good friends, and it's almost been, you know, God, 20 years almost. And it would be great to find something to do to get everybody working together again. I think that as a group, to sit down and come up with an idea and write it, it's going to be impossible, because you do get into a schedule thing. Trying to get everybody together in one room and decide on an idea is not going to work. I think for the group to find a project to do together would take one person to kind of come up with the idea, more or less write it, and then say, you know, here's the show, you know, this is it. You come on in, kind of rework your part or whatever, but
also, Eugene, in the middle of all this, I just wonder, is there any feeling of, let's move along? We all did that. We're older now. We're wiser. Our talents are individual. They're unique. Stop the talk about getting together. It's not Leave It to Beaver's 23rd reunion.
But it was so much fun.
That's what I wanted to hear, Eugene.
It was so much fun. It was SCTV, I think, was the high point in all our lives. Not that we're not, you know, going on to bigger and better things. Creatively speaking, I don't think any individual on the show has gone on to bigger and better things. From a creative standpoint, I don't think anybody's kind of seen the creative highs in their individual projects that we experienced on SCTV. And the fun of working together as a group makes the work process that much more fun. And I guess in a sense, it's like, you know, being a big fan of Monty Python when the show was on the air, and then kind of going out to see a Michael Palin movie, you know, where, not that Michael Palin isn't exceptionally brilliant, but you really have an itch. Geez, I wish the rest of the Python guys were in this scene, you know? And I think that the SCTV fans certainly kind of get that same twinge when they see, you know, a former SCTV person in a project where, you know, they'd really, you know, kill to see some of the other players in that scene.
Well, we're talking about talent and the world of comedy. and unique people. What are your memories? What are your thoughts on the life, too short life of Gilda Radner? What do you think of when I mentioned Gilda first?
I flashed back to the first time I ever saw Gilda, which was at the rehearsal audition for Godspell. And she came on to audition with a song that we all had to audition with. And the song that she sang was Zippity Doo Dah. And when she first started singing it, you know, where the people who were auditioning were kind of sitting back. There were like 100 of us. And I think there was kind of a strange vibe off the top, like, geez, what a silly song to audition with, you know, Zippity Doo Dah. But boy, did she sell that song, you know. She just had the smile and the energy, and it was zippity doo dah, zippity day, my oh my, what a, you know, and that Gilda kind of smile and energy. And by the end of the song, the entire room had fallen in love with her. You know, it was, her presence was with that song. And through Godspell, and even when we get into Second City, the thing about Gilda was that the audiences absolutely loved her.
When you speak this way and you express your feelings and your emotions, and we can talk about Gilda, we can talk about John, Andrea, Marty, your life with your wife and your children, and how you are doing more writing, more directing. And people have the cliches. All comedy is based on tragedy. All humor is based on cruelty. As you withdraw from the performing artist in yourself and let yourself be the behind-the-scenes person, is all comedy really based on tragedy, Eugene? I've always wondered. People say it. All comedy is based on tragedy. Is it?
I don't think so. You know, although I never try to dig that deep when I'm going for a laugh. You know, I just based on cruelty, I've never adhered to the Michael O'Donoghue school of comedy. You know, I've never been a big National Lampoon fan when they go too far. I think one of the things we prided ourselves on in doing our show over the years was that we never really went out of our way to to upset or go for the jugular or anything. I mean, there are a lot of people that do that. I think Saturday Night Live as a show had a harder edge, much harder edge than we do. Our show was a character comedy, and most of the characters were just kind of silly. But comedy that's based on tragedy, I don't really buy that. I think comedy is a very personal kind of thing, and it's very subjective. I mean, what makes me laugh is not going to make you laugh, and you really have to believe in your own strong sense of comedy and do what it is that you do. And if you can't do it, then get out of comedy. But I hate to use words like cruelty and tragedy when I'm dealing in an area of laughs.
All right, but don't try to tell me that two guys from Hamilton don't laugh at the same thing.
Well, we laugh at the same thing, but that's kept us out of the big money for years.
There you go. I'm pausing on that. We'll be back.